Hello and welcome to this Chess Club game review where I go over a game that I played at a local chess club. So I had the black pieces. I was playing against Jeff. I'm not sure what his rating is nowadays. He's probably around a 1,000 rated player. But I have to congratulate him. He made some solid moves in this game, so let's see how it goes. But, we both made mistakes, so we're going to use the computer here and analyze and see what can be learned from this game. So, my opponent, Jeff, he starts out with d4, and I just respond with d5, taking an equal share in the center. And now we have c4, the Queen's Gambit. Now, there are different options here. Of course, my pawn's under attack, so I decided to defend it with the Queen's Gambit declined. And now, often, and the computer says that the most common moves are, either playing knight to f3 or knight to c3. I guess you could even just go ahead and capture here and relieve the tension in the center. But Jeff played this interesting move. A3, and the idea behind it was he wants to bring this knight up, but he didn't want me to be able to pin the knight to the king. So here I decided to do something a little different. I push with b6, thinking that I could fianchetto and help guard the center and aim at the king side. I could also, in the future, push this c-pawn. So let's see how things go. The knight is developed. I developed the bishop to help defend this pawn. And the game continues with knight to f3. I bring my knight out. So we're just developing in normal fashion at the moment. So we have the pin. I thought about playing h6 earlier to prevent this pin, but maybe that's a slow move. Here I can just play bishop to e7. We're still in the beginning, in the opening here, and it's kind of even. White has a slight edge. After capture and recapture, let's see, white still has a slight edge. But white has given up the bishop pair. Now, that was a bad bishop. So, once e3 is played, that bishop would have been kind of blocked by the central pawns a little bit. So that's probably not terrible. Exchanging the bishop for the knight, it gets rid of a defender on my king side, which is where I want to castle. So now we have the e3 move, fortifying the central pawn. I go ahead and castle. Apparently, if I wanted a slight edge, I should have captured here. So apparently d takes c4. Then after the bishop recaptures, the idea might be to go here. And I think that's a common plan in the Queen's Gambit in this type of position. But I neglected that plan, probably for the worse. The game commences now with, as you can see here, a lot of inaccuracies, missed opportunities, and mistakes, on both sides. So we have the bishop developing an inaccuracy. Apparently, it would have been better to capture the more valuable central pawn with this less valuable flank pawn first. Because now what I should have done, well, we can go ahead and take a look at that. Especially if Jeff watches this video, we can see what would have been the best move to capture here. And then I should capture with the pawn. And then what do they recommend? Then g3 and fianchettoing the bishop to maybe counter my bishop here. And add some pressure on this pawn in the future here. All right. But after this is played, it's an inaccuracy, but I counter with an inaccuracy of my own, and now the game is even. For an advantage, I should have captured this. I kind of felt in the game that this is how I should have played, but I don't know. I didn't want to open things up or be left with a isolated pawn, possibly. So, but this is a common theme. When the opponent brings the bishop to d3, you capture the pawn, and then they have to move the bishop again to recapture. And then apparently I should have continued with c5, it looks like. Go here. But I guess I was worried that if they capture, I would be left with an isolated pawn over here. Well, it kind of would wreck my pawns. So apparently they should just go ahead and castle is best. But if this were played, then what? It looks like I should go ahead and mess up their pawns as well and give up my bishop. So give up the bishop pair. Apparently that's best. And then after recapture, what do they recommend here? Oh wow, queen to c8 instead of capturing the pawn. Oh, because then the pawn is pinned to that bishop. If I go here with my queen. Queen to f6 is another option as well. So anyway, the game could have gone in that fashion. So if we go back, heck, I'll go all the way to the beginning and run through the moves real quick. So, we were at this position, building up here, developing our pieces. We traded off, bishop for knight there. I castle. And then this move. So that was the inaccuracy. I followed up with my own inaccuracy. And now, capturing in the center with the pawns is better. But my opponent plays queen to c2, which is still an excellent move, creating a battery and threatening this pawn here. Now here, I wasn't sure whether to push the h pawn or the g pawn. And it looks like it might have been a little bit better to block with the g pawn. But I went here, and that's an inaccuracy, so apparently I should have blocked that way. But then I was worried about this pawn just pushing forward here and trying to break things open. But I don't know, maybe that wouldn't have been so bad because I could have brought my king up here and then fought for the h-file if that opened up. So I guess that would have been a little bit better. So h6 was played, an inaccuracy, and then I think this is the first mistake of the game, castling queenside. I don't know, it doesn't seem like too terrible of a move, but now black has a half a pawn equivalent advantage, where capturing here would have been better. Yeah, if they capture in the center, I would have to recapture with my pawn, probably. So, let's see. So we'll take a look at that for instructional purposes. Let's see. So, the best thing here would be to capture. So then I should recapture with the pawn. And now, what do they recommend? Rook to d1. So bringing the rook over to d1, that's interesting. I guess it would help maybe guard this pawn if this pawn is pushed forward. Castling to the king side, apparently that's preferred. h4 can also be played, which h4 is played, as you'll see. So let's get back to the game. We had queenside castling. So black still has an edge here, but it's not any kind of winning advantage. And I think, once again, I have to congratulate Jeff for at least having a good plan here. He planned to castle queenside and start a pawn storm and start attacking me here, which is what you should do when you have opposite side castling. whoever gets the pawn storm in more quickly usually has an advantage. So right away I thought, well, I better start pushing my pawns, but apparently this is a missed opportunity. That's the wrong pawn to push. It looks like c5 perhaps is the way to go. But now they're saying, let's see, once I play that, now it's saying that's best. So here it could have led to capture. Oh, and they want the bishop to capture. Bishop takes d5. The knight would probably capture after that, getting rid of my bishop pair. But they recommend king to b1, which you'll see often when you castle queenside, moving the king to the b file. Why? Well, I guess it gets the king off this half-open c file. It prevents any pieces from, like the queen, from swinging over here at some point and trying to attack the king. Let's see. So, here we probably could have had this, then this, and once again it recommends to start throwing those pawns forward. Okay, back to what happened in the game. We had queenside castling. I missed an opportunity. I should have opened things up in the center before my opponent had a chance to start his pawn storm, which he does, and here come the pawns. Apparently this is an inaccuracy. Once again, the c pawn capturing on d5 is preferred. So I wasn't sure what to do here. I just decided to centralize a rook. And now that's a mistake. Apparently, oh wow. They recommended g6 instead. So I don't know if I like that either, because then my pawns would be wiped out. Wow, if I played g6, there's a possible sacrifice, although the computer does not like that. What about this? Capture, queen captures. Maybe it's not enough because I could block. Oh, but then they could capture the other way. So if I go there, capture with check, the rook blocks. Wow, yeah, I didn't like all that. And I don't know if I really even considered that in the game. So, in the game, we had the h-pawn pushing forward. I centralized my rook. Man, I don't like that g6 move that the computer recommends. I mean, the computer can find those computer moves that a normal person would have difficulty playing. So here come the pawn storm, or here comes the pawn storm. The pawns are rushing forward. Once again, this move is preferred by the computer. So I go ahead and capture. That's a mistake. Apparently c5 would have been better, but white has a healthy lead at this point. So check, because if the bishop were to capture this pawn, then I have this capture, forking both of the rooks. So check pretty much had to be played, or else move the bishop here to stop my bishop. So I run, the bishop blocks off my bishop, and here apparently it would have been better to go ahead and capture. But I wanted to keep my bishop pair, so I blocked instead. The computer says that's still excellent, but at this point, Jeff is ahead by the equivalent of over 2 pawns, even though I'm ahead by 1 pawn in material. So interesting position here. The pawn storm continues. So Jeff is doing a good job of starting this attack. I go ahead and capture. We have recapture. The bishop captures. And now it looks like the best move here would have been to just go ahead and capture and then knock out my bishop pair. So this was played, and this is the mistake here that kind of gives up a lot of the advantage. But let's see what would have been best. So capture, bishop, or excuse me, queen recaptures, and then rook at d to g1 would target the queen, and this pawn, so I kind of have to protect this pawn. Queen to f6. Now what? Rook to h7. Adding pressure here to this pawn with both of the rooks. So, if that's played, what is recommended? Apparently, wow. Yeah, I shouldn't even try and save this pawn. I should start running for my life if we got into this position. King up to e7. And then they recommend rook at g. Both of the rooks could have doubled on the 7th rank, looking very dangerous. And now, that's the recommendation. Capture, queen captures, rook captures, king captures. And now, what? Bishop to f3. So at this point, white would have a healthy advantage. Rook at a to f8. I would try and activate my other rook, line up on their bishop, so the game could go something like this. I go here, knight, to e2, maybe getting ready to reposition that knight up towards the center, and also unleashing an attack on this. Okay, before I get too deep into this, let's see what actually happened in the game. So the pawn storm begins over here. I centralize a rook, which was a mistake, and this pawn storm continues. And now after capture, we have a check. King is running. This block, or not, well, yeah, I guess it's a block of my bishop here. So I wanted to keep my bishop, so the pawn storm continues. And this is where Jeff should have just captured and gotten rid of my bishop here, and I would have been in trouble, because my queen would have recaptured, and then it would have started this attack of bringing his rook over and attacking my queen. So this was played. This was a mistake, and this is probably where the game started to turn. I go here, the only move available, and now that unleashes an attack on his rook. So apparently the best move here is to retreat all the way back. But in the game, we had capture. So, instead of that retreat. And here I have to be careful, because the knight is attacking my bishop. So I don't want to capture with the queen. I have to capture with the king so that my queen can guard my bishop. So capture. The other rook swings over. That's the inaccuracy. Apparently, queen to e2 would have been better. Kind of targeting this pawn and perhaps getting ready to swing the queen out on this diagonal. So I block to prevent any back rank attacks on my king. The knight repositions. So this is a mistake. Once again, they want a queen move. Queen to d1. Up here to d1. All right. This did unleash a discovered attack on that pawn. So I protect. Now we have the knight coming forward. Now here, already I have to watch out. There's an idea of pushing this pawn and trapping his bishop. But then I was worried about capture, pawn captures, and the queen recapturing and my king being kind of wide open here. So I didn't really want to try that. But let's see, after this knight to f4 move, I mean, I guess another option could be to capture the knight, but that's not recommended. So let's see what happens if I capture this knight. The recommendation is rook to h8. Black would still be in the lead. I would have to block. I don't want to lose my queen, so I'd have to block with my knight to f8 here, and then they would capture. But they don't like that move. It says that would be a mistake to give up my bishop pair. So what's the other option? Oh, and I can't go here because of maybe this capture. Yes, the knight could capture and attack my queen. Okay, so let's go back. We have the knight moving forward. In this position, I go queen to c7, but e7 would have been a little bit better. Knight to h5. Apparently, the best move would have been to give up the rook, but at this point, black is in the lead, and you don't really want to just give up more material, so I understand why that was not played. And then this is where things get a little crazy here. I didn't realize that black, had as big of an advantage as the computer says I do, but the game continued with me just wanting to centralize this rook on a half-open file. Apparently that's an inaccuracy. King up to e7 would have been better. Could I have gone ahead and played that f5 move? Let's see what would happen. Apparently that would open things up and the game would be a little bit more even, after this. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have two knights hovering around, a rook and a queen, and my king wide open here, because now I have to be careful in what I choose. Apparently, queen up to d6 would be the best move. All right, back to what happened. This is the position we were at. I centralized my rook, and now this was played. And once again, I was kind of surprised by this move. I thought, well, should I take that? But I didn't want to invite the queen to come down and cause problems. So, if I would have captured, yeah, that would have been a mistake. Because then the game would have swung in white's favor after... Oh, hold on. Let's see. If I captured... Wow. Apparently knight takes g7 would have been the move to play. But, this is probably more... This is probably what would have been played. Now it's saying that would have been best. So, with check... king up to e7 to guard this pawn, but now you have capture. Yeah, and white would be pretty much winning here. So I guess the danger alarm went off and kept me from taking that. I thought, oh, it might be too risky to go after that. So good move there. Even though it says this is a mistake, it's still a provocative move by my opponent that could have led to problems if I accepted that sacrifice. So here, somehow I found the best move here. I wanted to take advantage of this bishop being lined up on the king and apply pressure to this. I mean, at the moment, the knight could just recapture, I guess. But then if I could move this knight, maybe I could go after the knight there. So the game continued with a knight capture. So that's an excellent move. Apparently knight to g5 might have been a little bit better. But I don't know. That looks like it, what, just would give up the knight for free, maybe? But I won't look at that because this was a good move as well. So I go ahead and capture. We have an inaccuracy. Apparently bishop takes f7 would have been a little bit better. You know, just trying to break things open. But at this point, black is winning. So, you know, even if that bishop captures, black would still have a winning edge. So let's see what actually happened in the game. We had capture, rook. So here, I didn't pick the best move. Apparently, I should have gone after this. Then the rook captures. Then knight up to f6 would have been best. So this is kind of interesting. Here, king to b1. Also, you could go here, and the best thing to do would be to capture, capture, king takes, and then I would be ahead in material by +2, but they could capture this pawn. What's recommended? b3 apparently. So do they not recommend this move? Oh no, no, you definitely don't want to do that because of this. Bringing the rook up, and then the queen would have to give itself up. So b3 apparently is best, but then you have c takes d4, e takes d4, rook takes. Now what? Queen up to c3 attacking. Okay, anyway, white would still, or excuse me, black would still have an edge. I just have to be careful, you know, because there's still a queen on the board, and I want to make sure I don't fall into any forks that are nasty. Okay, so in the game, we had this move. Rook captures, knight captures, and here I thought my opponent might look at this move, capturing my knight, and then if I capture, he could swing over here, capturing my queen, attacking this bishop, and apparently that's the best move in this position, but white, or excuse me, black is still winning. This was played, which helped me just simplify the game down a little bit, but yeah, apparently best would have been capture, capture. So we'd trade off more material, which you don't usually want to do that when you're behind already. Oh, and it would allow me to go ahead and take that. Yeah, so yeah, that's not good at all. You know, the rook can capture this pawn, but I'm still +3 ahead here. Now what? Yeah, so that didn't look too great either. So in the game, we had this knight move being played. So now I just want to trade down more material. So capture, capture, queen captures, and now, you know, an attack here, which is the best move. So I go ahead and protect. We have a check. Says that's a good move, but checking with the rook might have been better. But here the queen is under attack, and it's, you know, looking tough at this point. The best move is to go ahead, oh wow, and just give up the rook here. Huh. Okay, in the game this was played. Now, apparently queen takes f2 is the best move. c3 could be played to try and attack these pawns around the king. Or bishop to d5, which was brought up by another good player at the chess club, Mike. He mentioned this move, bishop up to d5, because you're attacking the queen now, and working the queen go. The queen can't protect this rook anymore, so the queen would have to capture, and then you could go ahead and capture the rook. But I overlooked that move because, I don't know, I had the plan of moving here, and now the computer says that's the best move, and I wanted to get some kind of attack in here. So the king steps forward, and that's an inaccuracy. Apparently, what do they recommend? Oh, wow. They recommend just capturing here, which would just, I don't know, that doesn't look so good either. It's still, no matter what, it's a mate here coming up. So the final moves of the game. King steps forward. And now, oh, hold on. Let me go back a little bit. I might have looked at something a little bit incorrectly. No, I guess you could still go there. But now, after this move, that fork is available, with the same kind of plan. So I decided to go here and simplify down. This is an inaccuracy, but I'm ahead in material, so I just wanted to trade down. So the final moves of the game, we get an attack in here. And now there's a threat of a mate here on the back rank. So this defends. My king starts pushing up, and I decide to go after the pawns. So check. The king steps forward. You have to do that in the end game. Get the king into the action. After this defensive move, I just decide to trade off more material here. So the king steps forward. Apparently, it would have been better to keep the rooks on the board, swing the rook over here, maybe try and go after these pawns. But at this point, black is ahead by quite a bit of material. So I just trade down, and this is where the game ended because I just have way too many pawns and this extra bishop. Okay, so before I end this video, let's look at what the computer says for the accuracy rating and everything. So I played at 81.7% accuracy, and Jeff played at 73.7%. And take a look at this. Jeff got a pretty big advantage for a while. So he was doing pretty good, but he kind of let it slip away. And probably even by the time I had the advantage, he still had kind of an attack going, and I was still kind of worried. So he did a pretty good job. Let's see here. Jeff had one great move. I had two. 6 inaccuracies by Jeff, 4 by me. He had 5 mistakes. I had 2 mistakes and a miss. Now, this is pretty good for Jeff being around a 1,000 player. Apparently he played at an 1850 level here. It says I played at a 2100 level. And then the opening, 97.8% accuracy by Jeff, 98.3 by me. And then the middle game, 68.6 versus 75.8. So, not bad for Jeff. He's an improving player, but he has definitely gotten stronger over the last few years. I remember when Jeff was just starting out and a beginner player. Now he's an advanced beginner working his way up, trying to become an intermediate player. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff, for this game that we played, and hopefully by going over it, it was instructional for all of you watching. Please feel free to leave any comments, like and subscribe to support the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and have a super chess day.